Get the Long Mercury Mantra MP3 at JasonGallant.ca.
Om Brahm Brim Brahm Sa Buddhaya Namaha. Om Brahm Brim Brahm Sa Buddhaya Namaha.
So today I'm going to speak to you about ending the cycle of conflict. Again, I'm not saying conflict is wrong. Sometimes conflict is necessary, but conflict can be necessary in order to bring a greater unity between two energies, not just people, but two energies that are at first going in opposite directions, but when they collide, then they harmonize. So you see there's a greater being or greater emergence or collaboration of energy that emerges from the conflict. So at that point, the conflict is actually love. Conflict and love can be the same thing. Because the purpose of the conflict is to bring greater oneness. Okay, so I'm never saying conflict is bad. Okay, so just first and foremost, I'm saying this, okay? This is why I like to work with people in person, because I can put all these disclaimers underneath. But when I make a video, sometimes, well, there's always a misinterpretation, because you'll always perceive what I say based on the level of illusion you have at this time, okay? So I'll try to be as clear as I can about this. Okay, so for instance, I'll give you some examples. Today I was driving in traffic and there was a skateboarder that skateboarded across a crosswalk, and he had the right of way, and the car in front of me almost hit him because the guy wasn't really paying attention. So you could say his awareness was not expanded enough to notice the skateboarder. You know, immediately people like to say, oh, that person's just stupid and all this. But the truth is his awareness was not open enough to see what was going on, and he wasn't aware that the skateboarder might come out of nowhere. Anyway, he almost hurt the skateboarder. So what ended up ensuing was the skateboarder started to chase the car down the street and swear and curse and try to create conflict because he was so angry about this trespass that was done to him. And I basically pulled up beside the car and the driver and parked right beside him and waited for the skateboarder to show up so I could make sure that nobody got hurt of the whole situation. And I basically said to the skateboarder when he showed up, I said, okay, you're angry. I said, the driver's saying he's sorry, but I could see that there was a need on the skateboarder's behalf to continue the conflict, you see? And that's when conflict is wrong. Conflict can be wrong. And what I mean by wrong is that it will continue your suffering if you are identified with continually looking for retribution instead of a greater love. Okay? So the driver had learned a lesson, and the skateboarder gave him an incredible gift, because the skateboarder now, through this situation, had said, be aware. And now the driver was more aware, so perhaps this skateboarder actually saved somebody's life in the future, based on this expansion of awareness. So it's important for people to realize that some of these dramas happen in the drama that expands the awareness of two people. So letting go of the need to stay stuck in the cycle of conflict is necessary if a greater oneness is going to be experienced in your life. So if someone trespasses you or does some wrongdoing, be willing to forgive. And this will free you from the need for more conflict and the pain that comes from that. The suffering is the better word, because suffering is the perpetuation of pain based on you and your ideals. Okay? There's so many times that we are done wrong in some way, shape, or form. You know, perhaps somebody violated us in some way, stole from us, assaulted us, did something. But you have to realize that the reason why these people are doing these things is because of a lack of awareness. There is some part of them that doesn't realize or doesn't experience the pain that we feel based on these experiences. So if there is some apology or some mistake that is done and they are willing to open up to us, then at that point you must be willing to accept that opening, rather than get stuck in the need to punish them for the wrongdoing. There is not one person I know in this life that has not made a horrible mistake in some area of their life at some point. We all have. And really, by forgiving someone externally, we're actually also giving ourselves permission to forgive ourselves as well. You see, this is why it's so important. Because ultimately the forgiving of yourself for your own mistakes is what's going to lead you to a higher level of freedom. Accepting that you don't know the big picture, that things just happen and that's life, and you're allowing the spiritual weather to move through you. That is a greater level of freedom. You're surrendering to the intelligence that is the divine, that is your life, that is moving through all things at all times, and not condemning yourself based on mistakes. I understand that some of you I'm speaking to right now will say, no, but there's this one mistake nobody can be forgiven for. And I would say that might seem true to you now because you have a certain experience of life that you have taken for granted, but you do not understand the experience of life that this person has. You do not understand how blind that they may be to the energies before them. Okay, and the misconceptions that emerge from that. Ultimately, realizing that you don't know what the perspective is and the point of view of all people, you don't know it, and you're open to the expanding of your own point of view, this will also open you up to the points of view of others, no matter how ignorant they are. That's forgiveness. And experiencing that forgiveness will allow a greater space inside you to emerge because you're creating space. The one perspective you had or point of view and the point of view of the other, no matter how ignorant, then become one. They collapse, and then a greater intelligence emerges from that. And a greater experience of the divine, a greater experience of love, and a greater experience of unconditionality. And that's really what you're after. I'm also here to say, forgive yourself if you fly off the handle and you get mad at somebody and something happens. You know, I'm not an idealist, okay? But I'm saying forgiveness can be a powerful method because you're accepting that there is the possibility of ignorance somewhere else, like it can happen. You know, a man blindfolded will make different decisions than a man that can see. And only by accepting the man with the blindfold will you be able to create a greater harmony, and then your point of view may also assist the blind man. I'm talking figuratively here, okay? So this is love. You're actually transmitting what you know to a person that perhaps has done you wrong, but it's because they're really asking to be taught. They're asking to know what you know. It's another way of looking at it. In the end, I'm not saying that it's right for you to suffer or to be condemned or hurt or harmed in any way. I'm not saying this, but what I'm saying is, in this world, there are so many people with differing levels of intelligence, differing levels of point of view. You know, one point of view is totally free of desire and fear, and another point of view is absolutely entrenched in it. And only through your internal acceptance will you allow yourself to be free. Perhaps you don't become roommates with somebody that's caught an illusion and they don't understand how matches work and they burn down your house. Like, I understand that. But through your acceptance and not the constant loop of hatred and separation, you will be able to find yourself into a greater level of freedom. Okay? So in the eventuality of conflict in your life, because it will happen in your life and it will happen in all of our lives, if someone makes a mistake and then they say sorry, this is a tremendous opportunity for you to open up and accept it. Instead of saying, no, you deserve to be punished. Okay? Because that just keeps two people trapped in separation. So I hope this helps. Take care for now.